Week two, wow, started out on fire, ended out. Um, the general theme being yes, we should remove the president of the United States, never let him hold office again, and hold all of the people that helped build him up and coddled him to the last 4 years to be held accountable, which is pretty much every elected Republican in DC. So let's get at it. Drain the swamp, Meghan. We got in our favorite topic of cancel culture when Twitter cut off the president and a bunch of terrorism inciters. And I think we've covered that, Meghan. It's not, they are allowed to relieve themselves of service to people who break the terms of service. That's okay. If you went and grabbed some girl's ponytail in a bar and started swinging her around, they'd kick you out too. So, like, Trump's been swinging our ponytail for 4 years. He should have been kicked off Twitter a long time ago. Really, the theme for the last half of the week was about you figuring out that you don't really have your finger on the pulse of what the Republican Party is looking for. I don't know how you've missed that over the last 4 years, let alone 10 years. And before that, I think the Republican Party didn't exist because you weren't paying attention or something like that. I'm not sure. I don't know if maybe your father gave you some sort of idealized version of what the Republican Party, what he thought the Republican Party was at the beginning of his career. But even by the time he retired, the Republican Party was just like blatantly, I'm just going to say anti-American. So this idea that you have that the Republican Party is the party of, the big tent and family values and fiscal conservatism is bullshit, and it has been. There hasn't been room in the Republican Party. They're not so friendly to the gays and haven't been for 40, 50, well, as long as, when was the last time they were friendly to the gays? I don't know. Decades and decades and decades. And I'm guessing before that, no, they weren't. The fiscal conservatism thing is bullshit. If you look at the deficit, the debt that has been rung up by Republican administrations over the last 40 years, and how the Democratic administrations have had to then pay for that, there's no concern about fiscal conservatism. They just don't want to provide any kind of safety to the American people. They want to give tax benefits to the wealthy and corporations. It's been, at this point, the Republican Party is just a criminal enterprise. And it really has been pretty much since Nixon. If you look at Reagan's economic policy and how he overhauled our economy to be a trickle-down economy, which, by the way, we've shown has failed. It has just absolutely failed for the vast majority of Americans. Iran-Contra, the fake war in Iraq. It's just been a blatant set of corruption and graft from the Republican Party. The economic policies of Reagan have not really been turned around by Democrat or Republican. We're still in a pile of shit that doesn't work for most people. But the ideas of access to good quality healthcare for everyone, access to good quality education for everyone, access to good quality, decent paying jobs for everyone. Those are not difficult things to ask for a citizenry. And the Republican Party, time and time again, has tried to prevent those things from happening. since Reagan, the idea that if you keep them dumb, keep them poor, and keep them sick, while blaming anybody else, immigrants, gays, pick a religion, terrorists, now Antifa. I'm sorry, if you're not anti-fascist, what are you doing in this country? You should be anti-fascist. That's it's part. Boggles my mind that is somehow an insult, to be against fascism. Anyway, that whole philosophy of keep them down, and the whole time blame somebody else, all the while you're just raping them of everything, and then somehow getting them to thank you for it. And the big one is blame the libs. Oh, the Democrats are evil. They're doing this to you. I'll admit, the Democrats, when in power, when they have a chance, don't really take the reins as well as they should. It's going to be interesting to see what we do. We've got 2 years of control, and there better be some big fucking structural change, or we're just going to end up in it furthering the mess that we've got. So that whole campaign of keep them down, blame everybody else, and that it's worked. And Trump is the pinnacle of everything that they've worked for, through gerrymandering, through court packing, through just a complete and utter seize of power wherever they can get it. This is what the Republican machine has been wanting to do. Control and maintain power to keep an unfettered capitalism that works for a few of the people. The only problem is they got this, charismatic, I don't know who thinks he's charismatic, but people think he's charismatic, guy to get the cult together. And actually lead an insurrection against the fucking government. The problem is the guy that they got for the pinnacle of the moment is a moron, and doesn't give a shit about the Republican Party or its agenda, just cares about himself. And so they, that was a fuck up. Lindsey Graham said, if we nominate him, we're going to be destroyed, and we deserve it, and you do deserve it. Anyway, this is all just a sort of a message to you that the Republican Party that you think you are a part of has never existed, at least not in your lifetime. When you actually look at the policies that they have supported and the policies that they have fought against, why the Voting Rights Act is sitting on Mitch McConnell's desk and has been for years is beyond me. You should be ashamed of him. He is a scourge to this country. Anyway, so maybe, because you said you've been doing some soul searching, some deep thinking, maybe you should think about what the Republican Party actually has been doing as opposed to what you believe it stands for, and try and reconcile that for a little while. You've been playing with your geography about where you live, about calling yourself a DC resident, and I noticed at the end of the week you moved past that, and said you live in the Beltway, which is much better. It's much more close to accurate. You got to say hi to your mom and bitch about some stupid political theater going on in Arizona that nobody else gives a shit other than your family. So great use of television. And, the hair was okay. The styling problem on Monday, but yeah, that wasn't bad. That, we just got to work on the makeup and all the jewel tone on the face and the, I don't know, maybe find you a personal shopper. Anyway, we move on to week 3, where we get to inaugurate a new president. So this should be, and potentially begin a civil war. Who knows what's going to happen with the protests scheduled in every single state capital to object to a fairly won election. We're in for some interesting times. So I hope you are buckled up and ready to, look in that mirror.